Hello friends, Kerrigan Skelly with Pinpoint Evangelism here with you today. And I want to talk to you about 5G, coronavirus again. It's going to be a constant theme for a while, unfortunately. And also what to do moving forward as the people of God. I'm away right now to go do some preaching, some scooter preaching in Atlanta, Georgia area. Georgia Governor Brian Kemp issued a stay-at-home order for the next 10 days. But one thing he has allowed is exercise. And so I'm going to go to one of these exercise places outside, one of these walking/jogging/biking paths, and do some scooter preaching. Praise God. And, he's also said that churches aren't forbidden to meet as long as they follow the guidelines of keeping themselves 6 feet apart for their own health, for their own good, to stop the spread of this virus. So there's been a lot of talk in recent days about 5G and its relation to this virus. There's some who would even have you to believe that what is really going on around the world is not a virus at all, but just the effects of the body from 5G. Let me just state this up front. 5G, from what I have studied, is very, very dangerous. It's much more dangerous than 4G or Wi-Fi signals or having a smartphone nearby at all times. Those things are dangerous too. 5G is much more dangerous from what I've learned and what I've studied. And I haven't done a ton of study on this recently. I've done a study, over a year ago or more, reading about these things, trying to keep up on these things. And so it's very dangerous, and I would never want to live nearby 5G. I would never want to live in a city which is full of 5G. It's going to be launched. It has already been launched in many places. It's going to be launched in many other places around the U.S. Some places, from what I've seen on video, is being launched now at public schools while all this is going on. Now, whether they mean to do that in secret or was already planned or not, I have no idea. It doesn't even make a difference to me. But my advice to you, friends, if you think 5G is really that bad, and I do, here's some practical tips I'd give for you. Of course, you need to pray about all these things. It's not like some hard and fast advice for every single person out there, but just some tips, some things you need to consider about prayerfully as a follower of Jesus. I would encourage you to get a piece of land out in the country that has a water source on it, that doesn't have very many neighbors, where you can raise animals, have a garden, put a small house on it, and live very simply. Maybe a house out in the country that's far enough out, you may be away from all the conveniences of life. You might have to drive a distance to go to the grocery store. You may have to drive a distance to go do some preaching like I am right now. I live an hour from Atlanta, sometimes even more than an hour depending on the traffic. And so it's an inconvenience for me to travel to Atlanta to preach. But when I lived in Kentucky, I lived out in the country there too, and it was 2 hours to Louisville, Lexington, or Nashville to preach one way. And so this was actually half the distance I was going before. It's a much bigger city than I was preaching before. And the conveniences of life, I was already used to being away from those. And so I would encourage you to consider that very prayerfully and very hardly. Now, God may lead some of you to stay right where you are. If you live in New York City, He may lead you to stay there and just, occupy until He comes and be a preacher of the gospel right there, and maybe He'll just protect you from the effects of 5G, or maybe He'll let you feel the effects of 5G. Maybe you'll go to a hospital because of that, and you'll have other people to preach to you wouldn't be able to preach to otherwise. I don't know what God's specific will is for your life. I'm just giving practical advice and practical tips. Learn to live off the land. Learn to raise chickens. Learn to raise cows, a dairy cow, a meat cow. Learn to raise pigs, feeder pigs for meat, and breeder pigs and breed more pigs for meat. Learn to garden. Learn to grow tomatoes and cucumbers and lettuce and peppers. Learn to grow potatoes and carrots. Learn to do these things. Learn how to hunt. Learn how to use a gun. to hunt deer, to hunt, where you are, maybe some pigs. You can hunt wild hogs. You learn to do these things. Learn to be self-sufficient to a degree. Maybe you even have the ability and the means to have solar power where you are. And these locations, I'm encouraging you to consider. There probably won't be good cell phone connection, if any at all. There probably won't be good internet connection, if any at all. You might have to go with satellite, which is absolutely horrible. Believe me, I know it's horrible internet. But the question becomes: does the health of yourself and maybe your family, does it mean something to you, is important to you? And do you want to survive the things that are coming upon us? And maybe God wants to give you wisdom in situations. God can protect us, and He will protect us, but He doesn't guarantee protection from physical issues, whether it's persecution, difficulties with the effects of what the world is doing around us, upon us. Many of you've lived in big cities for years, and you deal with the smog and the pollution and all the other things that go along with that, and you're used to it, and maybe your body's developed immunities to it. So this 5G thing is serious. It's very dangerous to your health. It can do some very disastrous things to you. And so I would just encourage you to think about those things, moving away from the big cities, moving out to the country, and protecting your families in that way. Also, moving forward in relation to everything that's happening right now with the coronavirus and people panicking and being fearful and shelves being empty in supermarkets and so on and so forth, I would encourage you to learn how to store food, to get some non-perishable items you can put aside, to learn how to store food properly. Learn these things so you can. God doesn't always just miraculously provide things for people, although He can. We have Elijah being fed with the ravens, bringing him food. We have the Israelites in Goshen being provided for, the Israelites in the desert being provided for miraculously. But sometimes God just wants us to be wise. He wants us to think these things through, and He'll give us wisdom on what to do. So we shouldn't be sitting back and saying, God will take care of me, God will provide for me. Now, if He's giving you that word in your time in prayer, you've come to that conclusion that God is going to provide for you that way, then listen, walk by faith. Believe God and walk by faith. And so I would encourage you, moving forward regarding these things, to prepare for something like this to happen in the future. Learn how to hunt, learn how to fish. Because fishing in the future won't just be a hobby anymore. It'll be like a necessary skill. Gardening will be something that your grandmother did, and you help pick the beans and stuff like that. It's something that you learn how to do, and you learn how to do it, it's a necessity. And, with the value of the dollar going to go down like crazy amounts because of the $2.2 trillion stimulus bill, and, stock market is crashing and your money not being worth much on that. Even gold and silver were going down at one point. I don't know where it's at now. I don't really follow these things very much. But one thing that will almost always be valuable, in my opinion, is land, because you can do something with it. You can provide for your family off of it. And so I would encourage you to strongly consider these things and to, take care of your bodies. Eat healthy. Exercise. Treat your bodies right so you have a strong immune system. Take vitamin C from a good source. Take vitamin D. These things are good for you, and it helps boost up your immune system so that when things like this come, your body will naturally fight it off, and it won't be as serious for you as maybe it would be for others. So I encourage you to do these things and find a way, make a way where you can be a witness. Free up time for yourself. Forget about the high-paying jobs and lots of money. Find a way to free up time for yourself to minister more, to disciple your families more, to get in the Word more, to pray more. We all have 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. No one has more time than that. And how you're using your time is going to be so much more important going forward. These are things that I've been doing before this happened. Be frugal with your money. Learn to use your money wisely. Spend it on things that really matter. And this is things I've been doing for a long time. But for many of you haven't been doing these things. And you need to free up time to do the things that God has called you to. When you stand before the throne of God, Christian, what are you going to bring? rewards are you going to get? What things are you doing to impact eternity? These are things you should really be seriously considering. Whether you think coronavirus is a fake and a fraud or not, that is beside the point right now. The world is responding to it the way it is. Now, we're not to respond the way they want to be fearful and panic and all those things and be worrying and fretful. But the world is responding the way it is, and you can't control that. All you can do is respond to it in a godly way, in a biblical way. And so these are things I've been doing for years now, raising my family in the country, trying to live off the land to some degree. I have jobs that I work from home. Try to have as much time as possible, living frugally and simply, to have time to go out and preach, and as much time as possible to disciple my family and spend time with them, and to be amongst the people of God who God has put in my circle, Lord, here. And I'm going to continue to do this until the Lord says otherwise. I'm going to occupy until He comes. I'm going to continue to preach the Word and be faithful to Jesus and His gospel. These are some practical things. Once again, 5G is very dangerous. I don't know when they're rolling it out all over the U.S. and all over the place, but the safest place to be, to not be inflicted by the harm of those things, is going to be where they really aren't going to have it. I don't think it's ever coming to my area. And if it does, God has placed me where He has, and I think I'm going to be here for the foreseeable future. I never know. God can always move me again. He's done it before. But I think I'm going to be here for a while. And so if 5G comes out here, God's going to have to protect me. And going back to the other effects of things like 4G and Wi-Fi in your house, and from your smartphones you probably have nearby you almost at all times. Something I've used is supposed to be scientifically provable, that this thing I put on my phone is called safe space. Safe space. Not the safe space that liberals talk about, but this is safe space, is a little sticker type thing you put in the back of your phone or on your phone somewhere. And it helps to take the bad stuff that comes from your phone and turns into good things. So I put it on my wife's smartphone, my smartphone, my son's smartphone. I put it on a Wi-Fi router on my house. And listen, if I'm wrong about it, it doesn't do anything, then so be it. But the research I've done and looked into it, I think it does help. And I think I've noticed a difference with it. And so it doesn't cost very much. You can get them online, just search for safe space, smartphone, something like that. You should be able to find it. Anyway, pray for me. I'm going out to preach now. Let's continue to be faithful to Jesus and His gospel. Keep our face in His book more than be on Facebook. Let's not be binge watching TV and wasting our time sitting in front of a TV screen or putting the screen of our smartphone on our face. Let's get in the Word. Let's be in prayer. Let's be more vigilant. Let's be more diligent. Let's be more sober in these last days. And let's watch how God works, because God is still working. And I've seen people more open. Sure, there's more people who are having difficult times and are becoming more hardened, but people who are getting open, who weren't open before, they're seeing what is going on, and God is opening their hearts, and they're softening their hearts to think about these things and consider their lives. So let's be faithful. Let's watch God work. We have a God of miracles. He's still working, and He's not done on this earth. Amen. God bless you.